in and near the height of the country. And when we say the word mining, most of us tend to envision certain kinds of things, like what kind of substance when we hear the word mining? Gold, or silver, precious metals. And they were indeed mined. It mined heavily, but mostly outside of, on far fringes of the Lakeview. We're going to review some of that history out on the fringes, out on the edges. But subsequent to that, there were many other kinds of mining here in the high desert country as well. We're going to examine that history too. In other words, all of the mining history from the region's original natives and their mining of tools to the general and low value for volume mining of many little known mineral substances during recent years and continuing today. And most of these substances seem to be kind of light or gray. But true, okay, the Oregon Encyclopedia is a fine area. For me, basically I go with the whole southeastern quadrant. But it's got to be high altitude. It's got to be desert, and it's relatively semi-arid. It's got a little bit sacred juniper. It's got a lot of forest in it. To me, it's not really Geologically, the Oregon High Desert, it is, well, it's part of the immense area of Nevada, parts of Utah, and parts of California. They're known as high desert. Cold, steppe, semi-arid, dominated by sagebrush and juniper. But our portion of that high desert, Oregon High Desert, is almost totally covered by volcanic, as opposed to other areas in the other parts of the other states. What kind of rock is that? Volcanic. Lava flows, many flows, one after another. Very deep. And that kind of stuff is not really conducive to gold or other precious metals. And I said, history of mining from A to Z, so I'm going to take kind of an alphabetical approach to this. A is for ancient toolstone. And we must admit this is a very simple but also a very real form of mining. It was all about obtaining certain kinds of rock, stone, volcanic glass, obsidian, is used for many purposes, especially arrow points, dark points, knives, and other such implements. But also the native people went to the deserts outcrops of jasper and agate, which are also sort of glass-like, obsidian for volcanic glass. And hence was able to be chipped with very sharp tool. And there was another very plentiful rock in the high desert. It was valuable for tool making. The finer grained forms of basalt can be turned into glass and kind of act like these other things I mentioned. It can make some larger, more crude tools, but very important tools, such as scrapers and choppers, kind of things that people might just, they don't even recognize as artifacts. They do an obsidian drill. They just walk over. But these were very important tools. So there's been at least 14,000 years of mining of obsidian, jasper, for making chipstone tools, as well as probably red ochre, hematite for using pictographs, paintings, rock paintings, face painting. So obsidian, spear points, arrow points. On the left, that big thing there is a Clovis style point, probably about 13,000 years ago. The oldest style point that we have in our area, probably. And on the right, very small desert-like notched arrow bone arrow invented to about the time of Christ, 2,000 years ago. And this is the kind on the right there is being used by the Northern Pirate Indians when the first whites came on the scene less than 200 years ago. And then a little over 100, using my subtitle theme of the alphabet, G is for gold. So, Oregon trailers coming to the promised land. In 1845, a group of them decided to try a shortcut that was promised to them. Cross the high desert instead of the supposedly hard route of the Blue Mountains and then and they lost their way in Malheur County, Oregon County, Cook County, nearly starved to death, visited to death. Along the way, the so-called lost wagon train, they supposedly found some gold nuggets somewhere between northwestern Malheur County and southeastern Cook County. We just don't know what took place. Allegedly, that was found, gathered up, and put it in a blue bucket. Hence the name Blue Bucket Mine. But both the blue bucket, the blue nuggets, and the location where they were found were lost. And this became just another fable of early Oregon history. And it faded. And it was only 3 years later that not Oregon, but California became the number one of gold, ushering in the gold rush in the American West. San Francisco, seen here, during the early gold rush period, very visited. And this is shortly after its complete transformation by the gold rush. And those gold strikes in California kept moving ever northward into the Oregon Territory's Rogue River country, right there in 1852, Jacksonville. So, along with the discoveries of gold, California's sudden population explosion and the ethnic diversity of California also came north with these new gold strikes. You can see lots of diversity, ethnic diversity there, including trans-Pacific migration. Islanders, but especially the Chinese. So this mix came to Southern Oregon's minds, and from there in 1863, to the northern fringe that I did, the John Day country, where gold was found bed in the early 1860s. That's in the southwestern Blue Mountains, northern fringe that I did. Gold soon discovered in southern and central Idaho as well, just to the east of the Oregon. Now, John Day mining brought lots of iron across that country, and they encountered in a lot of very friendly way the northern white, so-called snake Indians, as they were known at the time. And this precipitated so-called snake wars in the 1860s, which ended with the defeat of the northern white, with them being rounded up, placed on a very large reservation east of Burns Mountain Reservation, which due to a pretty disgraceful episode in Oregon history, was completely abolished. And those folks had to go elsewhere, mostly in Washington State. A few returned to Burns, we have a colony of northern white today. At any rate, early mining was back-breaking labor. You can see that guy's really worked hard there. And there are two basic kinds of gold deposits, and that's the two basic kinds of gold mining. There's a placer deposits, which are easier to work. That's a secondary deposits where gold is eroded out on the hillside, out of the mountains, carried by streams, usually in stream gravels, or near rivers and streams. Several kinds of placer mining. And then there's the low deposits, which are hard rock digging right back into the hillside and mountainside. And most John Day mines will form placer. And as in California, there's a very swift evolution of the technology. Gold panning is basically prospecting only. Only to see the a certain place and like, pay actually spend a little bit of time. So it was a real quick way to get an idea of what was there. And one of the first things that came was the cradle. You can see why it's called the cradle. We're walking back and forth between the grate down at the bottom, water pulled through. And the cradle soon became the rocker box, a little more high-tech, if you will. Again, pouring water through it, moving it back and forth down. Here are going to be little ripples across to try and capture the heavier gold. And then the rocker box was sort of all like along to have more ripples. And put a few of the long bonds together, we have the sluice box. Most of us are familiar with what a sluice box is. A lot of folks aren't familiar with the fact that it was customary that on the ripples, like the wooden slats perpendicular to the flow of water from the sluice or the metal, be coated with quicksilver. It's another name for quicksilver, mercury. And mercury and gold, they love each other. They want to be together. And so gold passing over mercury over, that mercury kind of gets up and grabs it. And all everything else kind of goes its way into the waste. Now the easy placer deposits in Sierras and elsewhere, they came out by and large, and this ushered in a different scale, much larger scale of placer money. Came on as hydraulic, some really industrial scale stuff. You can see this gorge, and there's all glass by talking all that pressure, the water pressure against these hillsides. So that's all new landscape there. It was invented in California. A lot of this early mining was actually brought over by the Spaniards from the old world. The Romans would use things like certain kinds of gold medals and rocker boxes, so on and so forth. But hydraulic mining, that is an American invention. And it began with small diameter explosives. It stayed in the rich diggings of the California Sierras for many years and just created a wasteland. You can come on in. Okay. And created a wasteland. Cobbles, gravel, and other remnants of what they were mining out of the hillside. And all this going before silt and other debris into the rivers. So massive impacts to fish, farming, but lawsuits, finally Porter stopped in Sacramento drainage, and that caused hydraulic miners to say, well, we can't mine here. We're going to call it the Lakeview River or California. We'll farm it to Oregon. Road River, John Day, and so they came to those areas by the 1880s, continuing to go. So basically how it worked. This is a cross section, and kind of half together. This is a plan view, looking like an airplane, and a ditch. Cross section of ditch bringing water possibly from miles away, work for the stream, and that is then converted into what's called a head box, and then the tent stop, these riveted iron pipes, building up lots of pressure and velocity coming out, giant muscles, tremendous force of blowing man apart. And that's happening. And so we're looking down, and then here's the head wall, the mine itself, so we're Washington, and all that stuff is then directed through the sluice system, and out the very tail end of the sluice are the tailings, the lazy ones. So here's, instead of a ditch, this is water that's carried by flume with a trough. Dumped into the head box, very steep, and then into the iron pipe and down to the washing tank. And there is one right there, there's the pipe, it's the nozzles at work. You can see the brand new landscape. This is the Sterling Mine in Jackson County, which is still quite a ways down from all this. the mining process. All that you see here is all waste rock, miles of rock, built up enough that it doesn't extend the tailings piece out farther. You break these long mounds of tailings. In other places, they were stacked pretty neatly, not because they just felt like it, because the Chinese had built great walls wherever they went, but because it was allowing us to store more material in a smaller square footage space, and therefore would encounter your money, flood stuff. So there's a watering pit now growing up. So those little pines that are 130 years old. And again, John State Park and John Hay was a store, an office, and home, the China doctor, arcade, well preserved after being abandoned, and closed for decades, built a time capsule, wonderful place to visit the state park. And now there were a few gold strikes in Highland, such as the Coyote Hills and the New Pine Creek south here. These were in the early 1900s, for the most part, brief-lived, and they were nothing like today's incredible industrial scale mining that's occurring in our high desert neighbor state just in the south of that. Since the 1960s or so, there is this industrial scale mining there of gold, microscopic gold. You can see the results of it, you can see it in action all along Interstate 80, between around Carlin, on the way down. Huge excavators, gigantic pump trucks, the gold mills, they use cyanide leaching process. Quite something. We don't have that. We don't have that kind of geology. So let's return to Oregon. Again, up north on the fringes, through the Ridge Blue Mountains. This is a post-1900 very mechanized portable large scale class and left huge piles of mountains along the rivers. It's most active during the Great Depression. And there were a lot of small-scale mining operations during the Depression. It was actually kind of a foreign subsistence for relief for people. To make means and get by. And so with the Depression and on the 1950s and 60s, some of the old timers were speaking. However, right after the war, the government shut down all coal mining. There was not a strategic time. So, and the coal mining during the war instead, in an era, the high desert had mining for strategic minerals. That tells us some. So yes, there is still some gold in our hills. There may be some important west of the town here. They keep drilling and exploring. So far, I don't think there's been any production. But this is supposedly the microscopic form that we serve as they successfully been mining down on Carlin into that. But most of the rich areas on the fringes of the high desert mine now, in which you have our hobby miners with the 4-inch subject direction, but basically our water wells, as you see, the old technology, the new form. Back beyond that, C is more similar. Quicksilver, where we were, mentioned it already, crucial part of the gold recovery process. And we had some early silver mining on Coyote Hills in Lake County. Didn't last very long. Later, in the 1950s, there was fairly small scale silver mining at Lakeview Peak, near Fort Mountain. And just outside Lakeview, the other side of the Valley. And a much bigger operation in the Clinton River Valley in southernmost Mountain County, near the Nevada State border. This was a opalite cinnabar mine. And those are tons and tons of cinnabar waste rock tailings from the mine, incredibly toxic. Cinnabar mercury is heavily toxic to human beings, a lot of them test. And so the cinnabar miners paid with their lives for working with that stuff. But this has been opalite mines in the Oregon DEQ site, so there's no use spent. S is for silver, and this is Silver City, just kind of across the line in Idaho, from southeastern corner of Malheur County, Oregon. And that's virtually the only place that silver came out heavily, to my knowledge, in our area. It's out of the Whiting Mountains there at Silver City. It's not too far from Jordan Valley, Louisiana, the strike occurred in the 1860s, 1870s, a flood, mining, it's a pretty big place. Moving bus, ghost town. At the time, my dad was a kid in Idaho, 3 or 4 rough road driving excursions with Napa, South here. There was only, according to one solitary time still left. I went there like a pilgrim to see Silver City a few years ago with my wife and son, expecting, sagebrush, tumbleweeds on the street, shutters flapping. Instead, it's going to concern people that curved facilities, old homes, BLM land that they become like a slaughter farm. That's very disappointing. So, right after the war, right after World War II came a new kind of mining for newly valuable people. That whatever. You got it, great. So, iron numbers replace gold heads, allocating replaces gold metal. 1950s and 60s, big time mining near Lakeview, Lucky Last, White King, and also over in Durham, southern Oregon County. And this was going on all over the far west during the Cold War, and it left another toxic legacy, including these nominal miners and others, youth miners, so forth, in Utah, who so many of them ended up with lung cancer. And this here is a uranium mining prospect operation going on in Malheur County, Oregon. And so here's the White King mine here in Lake County being sort of reclaimed, and the hazard reduced by taking some of the worst hot stuff and burying it. That's what they did. So they didn't have uranium mining. We've got some letters behind us now about the others. I'm not going to go about that. But there are these other more humble, often regulated substances, and these still do bring miners actually quite into the organism. B is what works. These are salts, boron that better be in the element chart, number 5. It's not plentiful, but it's found almost everywhere in small quantities. It's terrible for gardens. You don't want to water your vegetable garden with water that's high. Some level water is high water. And it's recognizable physical form boron. It's usually found as a water-soluble mineral called borate, especially what we call evaporates, because of that things such as borax. These are typically found, they evaporate in arid environments. So borax, or sodium borate, was used for swimming pool water filters. It's used in the making of fiberglass. It's used in ceramics. In fact, the ancient Chinese used it in glazes for some of the forms of water. And it's also used in metallurgical processes and even in food pharmaceuticals. And now some gold mining operations employ borax instead of mercury to help capture and allocate free gold. For most of us, however, I gotta say, we all know borax means soap products, detergents, bleaches. And where was borax mining in the West most of Death Valley, California, with their famous 20 mule teams. And the Pacific Coast Borax Company took as its logo the 20 mule team. 10 pairs of mules, usually pulling two or three heavily loaded wagons of borax, and then following along was the water. There's no water. Those mules get thirsty. And so did the mules. The driver wagon. Borax mining began in the late 1800s by the Pacific Borax Company. And its successor, the U.S. Borax Company, hosted a TV show that I remember when I was a kid in the 1950s and 60s. It was hosted by a former Hollywood star, where at least the gentleman had already peaked. All right, so-and-so, someone detergent by Death Valley days. So what about Oregon? From the late 1890s until 1902, the 20 mule teams of the short-lived Rose Valley Borax Company hauled the same kinds of wagons from Borax Lake in southern Oregon County in the Alamo Desert, literally shadowing the same mountain, southward the many hard miles to the railroad at Minnesota. And the old diggings are still there. They were excavated by Chinese crews, and some of the rusted equipment, as you can see, is still there as well. However, the area of springs and the little bodies of water are also home to the endangered Borax Lake chub, a little minnow that exists there, but it's also face the area. And so the Nature Conservancy acquired the old private diggings in 1993, and along with adjacent LaLand protected area, which also protects historic artifacts, this is a protected area. So you can go see the old diggings, but they're not going to be digging there again. B is also for bentonite. What the heck is bentonite? Well, first of all, the U.S. is the world's top producer, and mostly comes from the western states, and it is typically derived from volcanic ash deposits. It's a form of very absorbent aluminum silicate clay, typically from volcanic ash. And what is it used for? Primarily used for what's called drilling mud. Water wells, oil wells, deep drilling mud, large-scale drilling, especially when you're going from coarse rock levels. You put that stuff down and try to seal the hole. Drilling mud. And using iron foundries and construction slurries, such as when you're laying utility pipelines and you cover that, as well as for cosmetic and cleansing masks. That's a scary sight there. It's also used for detoxifying laxatives. It's used for clarifying filters, such as for vinegar, wine, and vitamin beer. It's also used for its absorbent qualities, such as cleaning up oil and grease and oxygens. Whole variety of uses. And because that same character quality, it's very popular as a kitty litter. So, Oregon's major bentonite mines, the T bentonite mine in Malheur County, where ash fell into an alkaline lake thousands of years ago. And Central Oregon bentonite, which you see here, headquartered in Prineville, with its mine in southeastern Oregon County. And their bentonite is used mainly for drilling mud and for cat. D is for diatomaceous earth, sometimes called EE, or diatomite. What is it? It was first discovered in Germany where peasants thought it was limestone, and therefore would have been good for fertilizer. It really wasn't, but Kevin soon found some substantial, significant human uses. Alfred Nobel, Peace Prize founder, used it in making his original invention, dye. Various industries went on to use it in high-grade filtration, races, workplace absorbents, just like bentonite, and so forth. Notice that it's bentonite gray, just like bentonite. Now, bentonite, or excuse me, diatomaceous earth, to be effective for what we want to do, it must be from fresh water, not salt water diatomaceous, organic organisms. And the world's major source of freshwater diatomite is here in the United States, down in Southern California near Longboat, or Santa Maria. Huge pond back on the side, over there in the 1950s. Well, it's used for other things. It's an insecticide, but it's not a toxic substance. What it does, it fatally scratches the bone's exoskeletons in the cancer body. It's really scratchy. It has absorbing qualities of human consumption, detoxifying uses, and so forth. So it has been some people believe in these body purifying properties, and they'll actually eat it. And yes, it too is used for kitty litter. That's Johnny Cat again. It's also used for getting rid of fleas on dogs, used in filters, paint. Oregon is the nation's third largest producer of tea. It's mined largely in Crystal Lake Valley, in northern Lake County, and in Harper Valley, Mountain. Okay, get you out the P now. P is for pumice. There's that 1980 Mount St. Helens explosion. Now, Ben, unlike Lakeview, is very, very pumice. Much of it originated there from the huge Mount Lezama explosion, which made this look like a child about 8,000 years ago. Created there. And Ben area has been a major pumice mining center since the 1940s. It's lightweight. It's a porous, vesicular silica glass volcanic eruptions, and it's used to make concrete cinder block. The Romans invented concrete. In fact, they used it to make the famous dome of the Pantheon temple in Rome. And that roof is made of pumice. It's also used as abrasive, including soaps. I've used lava soap, but still got a bar, and I really need a good abrasive soap. I remember the ad, as I said, there's only one soap including these hands. That's got straight from the shops. So, using lava soap, using some toothpaste, I can imagine, brushing my teeth. It's also used in stone washing in underneath. Historically, Oregon has been the nation's #1 producer of pumice. Much of it from right around Bend. It's used for growing substrate in greenhouse raised plants, water filtration systems in swimming pools and aquariums. It's used to include pedicure stones. Never had pedicure. If I do, you go get some pumice on me. And a little known use. It's used for dust baths or chinchillas. Those little rodents from Chile. Okay, P is for perlite. You know, let's see. You know, he's really having a good time. I promise you. He's kicking a bunch of his eyes are closed. Just really likes that house. Okay, P is for perlite. Much of it coming from Lake County, or Paisley, as some of you know. Perlite's amorphous form of volcanic glass is virtually all silica. And it's often from ancient hydrated, that means highly altered by water, obsidian flows. So obsidian is no longer recognized as obsidian. And the U.S. is one of the world's highest producers, and Oregon is the nation's second largest producer. And this is up at Tucker Hill near Paisley. Cornerstone's operation. And what's it used for? It's used as an alternative diet and filtering. It's used as an ingredient in metallurgical fluxes and in industrial ceramic production. Many other uses, a bunch of which are listed there on that little poster of the versatile mineral perlite. It is used for narrow roads, those little white pieces you see, that has a polymer. And the main sources in our area, Lake County, Tucker, and another one in Jordan Valley, Mallard, and also small Hardin County rivers. And of course, among its countless qualities that make it so darn useful, this is the absorbency, allowing it also used for paper. Now going to the end of alcohol. What is that last one? Z, yes. Okay. So Z, what would it be? Z. Good guess, no. But you may have never heard this. But it's here. Give up. Zeolite. Z-E-O. L-I-T-E. Now, zeolite. Yep, that's white. It's a microporous aluminum silicate mineral typically formed where volcanic ash is deposited and then saturated by alcohol. There's all kind of variations of theme, you know, but they are different minerals, and so we have substantially different uses. Here's some of the zeolites uses, and an interesting one that I found is used to fuse zeolite with nuclear wastes to create a ceramic tile, which is much safer for long-term storage. Kind of suck it up into this glassy tile. I don't think I power my bathroom with it, but it's supposed to be relatively safe storage. It's used for aggregate, synthetic decorative stone, cement pigment, poultry feed, laundry detergents, body oils, cleanse laxatives, and, you know, it just goes without saying. It's also used for paper. So, the high desert line substances, be they ever so humble, ever so whitish, are important part of the nation's overproduction. But let's not end on that note. We do have a few gemstone mines, actual commercial enterprises. Oh, pearl, beautiful and hydrated form of silica. The most famous local mines in the world are in Australia. They're, I think it's called Ruby 4, something like that. Highest grade, highest value coal in Australia. But there's a number of local mines scattered here in the far west, including here in Lake County and elsewhere in the high desert. They're both commercial, and some of these operations, they extract coal and then sell them to retail outfits and direct to jewelry makers. But they also allow fee mining by rockhammers who come onto the mine and pay a fee and then load the buckets for stuff they want to take home and tumble. Do things. O is also for Oregon sunstone. Also those blush diamonds, found lying in several places. become a recent novelty hit with jewelry. They are a beautiful form of feldspar that comes in several colors. Mine places like the dust down line, Lakeview, and others close to blush or blush. And again, these are both commercial and fee mining, both on private land, and you can free mine or rock collect on an area of pure land management land that's specifically set aside for looking for mining sunstones. And finally, Oak is also for the city. Jewelry of various kinds, necklaces and bracelets. And on the right there, what anybody know what those things are? Those are earplugs. Put these big things below their ear, and then the lip. Not my style, but people that are into piercing, like sitting for that. Modern day Indian artifact jewelry. And so we have present day flint hammers walking up lessons and arrowheads. Which folks wear on their necks, that North Piles kind of kick out of that. Graduate heads anyway. And the city is also gathered and sold to people who are just aboriginal skills, flint hammers who want to become skilled at making arrowheads, like screw points and so forth. And so places like Glass Buttes in Central Oregon produces obsidian for that. So from gold mining to earlobe plugs and from detoxifying and flax and cat, we pretty much covered the alphabet and having kind of full circle. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention. Thank you.